Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. This time around, because it is the holiday season, chipmunks roasting on an open fire, flick your balls with boughs of holly, all that kind of stuff. I thought I'd do the movies that I'm going to watch during holiday season. That weird liminal period between Christmas and New Year when nobody knows what to do with themselves. So I went through the shelves and worked out what I wanted to watch. Now, I'm a little bit over watching movies because I did that 24-hour movie marathon. But then I got refreshed looking at the shelves and finding stuff I wanted to watch. And so here's a bunch of stuff that I want to watch. And I want to watch it between Christmas and New Year, or maybe going into the new year. Who knows? The future is a mystery. So we'll start out with a couple of holiday films because we'll ease out of that holiday film thing by doing a couple of holiday films which aren't commonly regarded as holiday films. First off, I'm going to go with Shane Black's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from 2006. Robert Downey Jr., but just before he hit as Tony Stark. Val Kilmer, good supporting cast in it as well. Michelle Monaghan's in there, Corbin Burnson. Smart, witty, funny, comedy/drama set at Christmas time about a dodgy little thief called Harry, played by Robert Downey Jr., who gets involved with murder and other shenanigans in Hollywood. He's from New York. He's totally out of his depth in Hollywood. Gets matched up for odd reasons with a private eye called Perry, played by Val Kilmer, who's gay. Fantastically sharp dialogue. The chemistry between Val Kilmer and Robert Downey Jr. and Michelle Monaghan is just chef's kiss wonderful. This movie you got to see. It's a holiday film. It's set at Christmas time. I'm not going to have any arguments about whether an action film could be a holiday film. If a rom-com can, so can an action film. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, you got to check it out if you haven't already. And if you have checked it out previously, it's worth rewatching. It's got a high rewatchability factor because of that sharp dialogue and the funniness of it, and just the way Shane Black puts together a plot is something that constantly delights me. So there's the first of our two holiday films to get rid of holiday films in our mind. Then we're going with a Charles Band joint, Trances. I got Trances on 4K, which I'm kind of pleased about. Tim Thomerson's in there, Helen Hunt. It's one of those time travel things that Charles Band did. Jack Death comes back from the 23rd century into the body of one of his ancestors because that's how time travel works. And he has to track down a guy called Whistler, who is going back in time and killing the ancestors of the people that he doesn't want to rule the city of Los Angeles in the 23rd century. Crazy stuff. This is peak 1980s VHS era. The inside cover is pretty much the same. I was looking for a copy of this because I like it. Couldn't find a copy of it on Blu-ray or DVD, but the 4K was there. And so I paid out a little bit extra and I got that. And I'm glad I did. It's a movie I like. The sequels are of decreasing value. Trances 2 is okay. But when you get to Trances 4 and Trances 5, you really don't want to waste your lifespan watching those. But the first couple are pretty good. And so that's my second holiday film for you. Great fun. Terrific movie. Tim Thomerson, you ought to love him. Shout out to John Harrison, who did the essay on Tim Thomerson in the Full Moon box set that Umbrella did. Next up we got one of the hardcore films, which influenced a lot of things that came after it. It's Fukusako Kinji's Battle Royale, again on 4K. I went through the 4K shelves. Haven't watched this on 4K yet. About a whole bunch of school kids who get sent to an island and have to basically fight until one of them's left. It's all done for the media. It's all done as a social control mechanism for wayward youth in a future Japan. Their teacher's played by Beat Takeshi. This one is very emotional, very hardcore, and very brutal. This 4K one has the theatrical version and a special edition collector's version on 4K. And it's one of the great turn-of-the-century Japanese action films. And Japan was hitting pretty hard with action films at that stage. That's the time when things like Ichi the Killer came out and a whole bunch of other really interesting genre films were coming out of Japan. And can't go past Battle Royale. So I'm going to watch that as well. Now, this one I've only just reviewed, so I'm not going to talk about it much. But I'm going to watch which I haven't watched. I haven't rewatched this since I got the new one. Eyes Without a Face. I'm going to watch the 4K of Eyes Without a Face because I haven't yet. This is the Umbrella edition that just came out. Fantastic stuff. Tons of extras. Good booklet with it. All that kind of thing. But I want to revisit Georges Franju's Eyes Without a Face and just enjoy how it combines horror with beauty in such a powerful and evocative way. That's one of the ones I'm really, really looking forward to. Next Victim. A childhood favorite, because why not? You've got to have that little touch of nostalgia. Not too much nostalgia, but just a little soupçon of nostalgia. I'm going to watch Pufnstuf the movie because I love Pufnstuf the movie. It is eminently groovy. Jack Wilde, Billy Hayes, Martha Raisin and Mama Cass steals the movie as well. Just such wonderful fun. And I like it. I like Sid and Marty Krofft stuff. They were there just smoking J's and making weird kids television. And Pufnstuf, the movie, I saw it at the cinema in Rockdale in New South Wales. Might have been the Mecca in Rockdale. And I loved it. Loved it ever since. I loved the TV series before that, but we only ever saw the TV series in black and white at that stage. And suddenly, a feature film comes up in colour, and it blew our tiny little unfinished minds. So I'm going to rewatch Pufnstuf and just love that. I've got this on. I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. I've got the TV series as well, but I'm going with the movie. I know I'm going to love it. It's probably something I watch every 3 or 4 years, and just have a lot of fun with. And this is the first of the Michael Powell movies I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch 3 Michael Powell movies over the holiday season. And I wanted to revisit it because of watching Made in England, the films of Powell and Pressburger, the documentary that Scorsese was involved with. I'm going to watch Red Shoes. Love the Red Shoes. Moira Shearer is never more beautiful. It's got Bobby Helpman in it. Barry Goring's in there as well. Anton Walbrook. Fantastic cast, fantastic story. Tragic, mad story about dancers and dance and the obsession with art. I'm going to watch that because I've got to watch a grown-up film after doing Pufnstuf probably. But The Red Shoes is a great choice. It may well set me down a path of watching more Powell and Pressburger movies, or should I say re-watching them, because those movies never leave me not feeling satisfied. So that's the one I'm going to watch. Then I've got this one from Indicator, but I haven't watched it yet. So it's Michael Goff, Martin Potter, Barbara Kellerman, directed by Norman J. Warren from 1976. A little bit of sleazy grindhouse era horror called Satan's Slave. Going in on this one cold, I don't know what it's about, but I picked it up on a cheap buy from Powerhouse. One of those ones where you get 3 for so many pounds. So I'm going to watch that and just revel in low budget and probably a little bit of nudity in 1970s horror. So I'll watch Satan's Slave and just not feel guilty about it, but just realize that I'm watching a vulgar pleasure kind of movie. I hope I like it. If I don't like it, I'm going to be disappointed. But Satan's Slave is going to be the next one I watch, and I don't mind that at all. Then I'm going to do 2 Michael Powell movies he made after that enormous failure for him that was Peeping Tom. Of course, it is an artistic masterpiece and it is a success by a whole bunch of other criteria. But after that, he went to Australia and made 2 films, only one of which gets mentioned in the Scorsese documentary. The one that doesn't get mentioned in the Scorsese documentary is based on an incredibly popular comic novel written by John O'Grady, who wrote it under an Italian pseudonym of Nino Colotto. They're a weird mob, starring Walter Chiari, good supporting cast in here as well. Claire Dunn, Chip Rafferty, Ed Devereaux, John Melian, Slim de Grey, whole bunch of other people. Set in Sydney in the 1960s, which is when I was a kid in Sydney in the 1960s. It's about an Italian migrant who comes to Australia to work as a journalist for an Italian language newspaper his cousin has. His cousin's gone bankrupt and pissed off. And so Nino, played by Walter Chiari, has to go working as a builder's labourer in Sydney to earn a living. And he meets a whole bunch of people that work together building houses. They're all Australians, they're all broadly Australian. They're all incredibly friendly and welcoming of a new migrant, which is something that I like about it. and he slowly adapts to Australia and Australian lifestyles while still staying true to his national origins. This is a movie that I appreciate, even though it is very, very broad in its humour and its portrayal of Australians. It's about inclusivity and about accepting new people and helping people who need help. Like Newsfront, the great Felt Noise movie, this movie is about the best of Australian nature. And it was made by Michael Powell in the 1960s, and I love it. Didn't always love it, but watching it now and seeing the subtext of inclusivity and welcoming new migrants, I love They're a Weird Mob, and I think it's an underrated movie. I think it's an honourable piece of filmmaking by Michael Powell. Then we go into the last movie he made in Australia, and the last movie he made, Age of Consent, with James Mason, Helen Mirren, Jack McGarren, based on a novel by Norman Lindsay. Yeah, the relationship between the older artist and the young teenager, played by Helen Mirren, is a little problematic, but it's beautifully shot, and it talks about the obsession of art, as indeed have a number of Michael Powell movies in the past. This is the Indicator edition again. Now, Helen Mirren was lovely as a young woman, of course, and there is some seeds of unclad Helen Mirren swimming through the Great Barrier Reef. Can I show you that? Yep, there's Helen Mirren on the disc itself. Yeah, it does have its slightly worrisome aspects. I think James Mason's very good as Brad the artist, and Helen Mirren's very good in an early role, playing Cora, the young girl who lives in North Queensland and lives with her alcoholic grandmother. I like this one, and I'm going to watch it again. And I think it's well worth checking out if you haven't already. Then we're going to do a bit of a Hammer thing. I'm going to find a slight obscure Hammer movie. Yes, it is a vampire film, but I don't mind. I like a vampire film. But it's not one of the big ones with Christopher Lee in a suit. Vampire Circus with Adrian Corey, Lawrence Payne, Thorley Walters is in there, John Mulder Brown. I saw this one at the Bondi Star Cinema in Sydney when I was a teenager, when the Star in Bondi Junction was showing only horror movies for a couple of years. The version I first saw of this had little bits of nudity cut out because we lived in a very benighted age at the time. But this is the full version. This is from Synapse Films, so it's an American one. I'm going to have to put this into my multi-region player. But there's actually 2 discs here for some reason. Why are there 2 discs? Oh yeah, one's a DVD, one's a Blu-ray. That's the only difference. So you get both of them there. I am going to put the Blu-ray in. Yeah, I haven't watched this one for a number of years, so I'll watch it again and hopefully I'll enjoy it. I enjoyed it last time I watched it. And I think Adrian Corey's an interesting actress, and she does a really nice job playing the woman who runs the Vampire Circus. So I'm going to check that out. Then it's going to be time for a couple of imprint releases that I got. Both of them from 1954. And both of them two-fisted action adventure films starring Charlton Heston. The Naked Jungle, classic film, directed by Byron Haskin, produced by George Pell. It's got Eleanor Parker in there, it's got William Conrad, and it's got Charlton Heston. A classic film about a South American plantation owner versus all the soldier ants. You know, I'm going to put in the Marabunta clip here because I love it.
Marabunta. Marabunta. Soldier ants. Billions and billions of them on the march.
But I'm going to rewatch The Naked Jungle, and I'm going to match it up with the other film that it can only be matched with, 1954's Secret of the Incas, the movie that influenced Indiana Jones in 55 million different ways. In it, Charlton Heston plays a tour guide in Peru who goes after a treasure. And the tour guide is one of the main influences on Indiana Jones. And the weird thing about Harry, the tour guide, he's also a sex worker. He sleeps with a female tourist and they pay him for it. So Secret of the Incas, and then I did a whole video about how the original Indiana Jones was a sex worker. And that's from Secret of the Incas. So I'm going to match those two up. Both imprint releases. Both great 1950s adventure films. Sunday afternoon movies. We saw them on Sunday afternoons on TV back in the 60s and 70s. So I'm going to watch those. And that should just about do it for my watches in the holiday season and in that weird interstitial time between Christmas and New Year. So that's what I got for you this time around. Tons of stuff there. Hopefully I can get through them all, but if I can't, I'll watch them into the new year. So thank you very, very much for watching. Like I've said before in the most recent videos, I appreciate the support the channel's got this year and the people who have subscribed and the people who have supported the channel by becoming channel members or by becoming patrons at patreon.com/terrytalksmovies. Next up, we'll have a Science Fiction Saturday. And for that, I've got the 10 best new science fiction movies I saw this year. And then we move toward the new year and my New Year's Eve live stream from 11 p.m. my time on New Year's Eve to 1 a.m. on New Year's Day my time. I've done that this will be the third year I've done that. And they're always a lot of fun. And for people who don't want to go out into the crowds, it's a good way just hanging out and talking about movies. So I'm going to schedule that one so people will be able to see it on the channel well before midnight on New Year's Eve. So until all of that stuff happens, and until we hit 2025 with somewhat timid optimism, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Watch some old films and just spend your time between Christmas and New Year enjoying yourself. And I'll catch you next time.